As always, it's time now for our pregame show with the lovely and beautiful Mrs. Ravelo. Got you. Got you.
You
Go.
got me?
You're on.
Hello, everyone.
So today we decided that we're going to talk about our children. Not too many details, not too much of anything, but we're going to talk about funny stories from the birth of our children.
Okay.
So since I have 3 and we have 2, I decided I'll start things off. As most of you know, I have a 26-year-old daughter, which isn't really around. But I will tell the story of when she was born. We were the only people in the hospital giving birth, and she was like induced labor because she didn't want to come out. So we were the only ones on that floor. So every hospital attendant was attending that room because they had nothing else to do that night. And all I remember really well is that at some point, it felt like somebody opened a clown car and let them all into that room because it was like a room full of crazy people everywhere, nurses, doctors everywhere. And the one doctor I particularly remember was the anesthesiologist.
Oh, goodness.
The anesthesiologist, I guess, felt the need to hit on my daughter's grandmother, who was there with her husband, who was also a retired anesthesiologist. But I guess he's like the younger one wanted to outdo the older one. So he kept trying to outdo all this stuff, and he was always on top of her and after her. And then when that room got packed, I am pretty sure I saw that man with a needle in his hand injecting himself and trying to see if he can inject her before the main doctor, the OB/GYN, kicked everybody out of the room except the nurse.
Oh, goodness.
And then he just ran out with his needle and ran out. I may not remember right, but it reminded me of Cannonball Run with that crazy doctor who was taking care of the elephant, and I think he was injecting himself to him. That's the crazy, funny story of my firstborn. So let's go to our firstborn, Leticia. So what funny story do you remember about her? What I remember about her was Leticia was it was a complicated pregnancy, so we had to constantly be going to get
Every week.
every week we had to get
Ultrasound.
an ultrasound. So one day we went to visit a relative,
Oh, goodness.
and she wasn't due for like another month, I don't think.
Month and a half.
Month and a half. But I guess being around this negative relative inspired her to want to leave
All that energy.
because
That negative energy.
when we went to the ultrasound the next morning, they sent us immediately to the hospital
Because I had broke.
because her water had broken, because we think that Leticia had pulled the plug on herself and said, "I'm out. Get me out of here. I don't want to deal with this anymore." How about you? What's your funny story about Leticia's birth?
Ay, Leticia. Her birth. It wasn't. I was in shock, to tell you the truth. I just kept going to the bathroom that night. And honestly, I did not have any idea that my water had broken.
No, because she was premature, she was in the NICU for like 9 days or whatever.
Yes, 11.
11 days. I was in the hospital 9 days. That was a different thing. She was in the NICU for like 11 days, and they would constantly try to put like IVs on her, and at one point they put an IV in her head,
And she kept
and
taking
she just
it
kept
all.
pulling them out. Now, we would have these children
She's
here.
very strong.
We would have her here with us, but again, as previously told, due to their
Wow.
union agreement, they refused to be on camera until a better negotiation. So that is why you don't see her here. No, let's move on to Bernardo. Our little boy, Bernardo.
Okay, Bernardo, every time I think of him.
Let's start with the first story of Bernardo.
the
Before he was born, when we found out it was going to be a boy.
Oh, yes. Yes. And
Again,
it was
we
like.
went in the same situation. We had to
there.
keep getting ultrasounds because of the high-risk pregnancy.
Yes.
And then they told us it was a boy, and I had to go back to work, but I said no. And I drove all the way to Hialeah to go see my father to tell him that he's finally having a grandson, because up till now, all he had were granddaughters.
Yeah. And
Between me and all the brothers I have, all of us had only had girls until now.
And we're talking about a large family. So
Yeah, so there was a lot.
Ravelo. You
And
had
then
the
what else
boy.
happened with the boy?
Well, Cinco de Mayo comes into mind.
Yeah, I was Cinco de Mayo, and I got drunk, and that is where
Yeah, Bernardo was not.
Bernardo was not planned. He
Like-
was an accident.
But he was like great. Like,
And the other funny story of Bernardo was they came with the paperwork to like talk about his thing, and they said his blood type, and they accidentally read her blood type, and she got all happy because she thought, oh, he has my blood. And she was all excited, and she was showing it off, and then they came and corrected it. No, sorry, we read the wrong line. We were reading your blood type. His blood type was my blood type.
exactly his blood type.
Now he wasn't he
fair.
wasn't premature. He was actually early in the sense that he was not given enough time to reach his due date. What was his due date?
Okay, truthfully, his due date was on your birthday, honey.
He was supposed to be born on my birthday, January 20th.
But the minute I saw that, I said, "Oh, schedule me." 2
And
weeks before.
she asked to have him born before my birthday, so
On the 10th.
so they picked the 10 days before my birthday, so we wouldn't share a birthday. We still ended up sharing every birthday party after that.
Yeah, and our numbers are entwined, so it's like,
Yeah, but
it all worked out. But I did try, at least.
she tried to not let me share the birthday.
He looks like him too. Oh goodness, pero qué lindos son.
And where did the names come from?
Oh well, I'm very proud of that. Okay, Bernardo.
Leticia. Let's start with Leticia.
Okay, Leticia.
Well, let's start with this. The agreement was the first pregnancy that if you had a girl, you pick the name, and if we had a boy, I would pick the name.
Yes.
And then no matter what happened there, the person who didn't get to pick the first time will get to pick the second time.
Yes. Yes.
So since the first one was a girl, you picked Leticia, which was why.
Because I love the name Leticia, and it's also one of my favorite actress and La Reina
Right.
de España.
So having said that, since I didn't get to pick a name that time, I got to pick the name regardless if it was a boy or girl the second time. So for a girl, had it been a girl, it would have been Vivian Cristina,
Beautiful name too.
named after both my one of my best friends and my Tia Nieve, whose real name is Cristina
Yes.
Maria. But we have way too many Marias in our family, so we didn't want to go with Vivian Marie.
And
We're done with the Marie names.
yeah.
It's enough of those. But then it ended up being a boy, as we said. So I named him after my grandfather, which was Bernardo Gregorio Valdivia.
And
But
exactly that's his name.
my maternal grandfather, so I named him Bernardo Gregorio Ravelo.
And he's
So
grown up
technically, he's not a junior.
and he likes his name. He's the one who bullies people, so.
All right. You have anything else you want to add, or?
No, I'm good. Oh.
Well, you're not going to Target today because Leticia's not even here to bother us.
No.
So she's gonna go off to her room to watch Dateline or something.
Yes, I will.
And
All right, guys.
And that concludes today's little cold thing. And now let's get to our cold open,
Bye-bye.
and we'll start tonight's game after that.